Thomasville finishes. Almost everyone agrees they're the first thing to catch your eye when you look at fine furniture. And our company has some of the best, with a unique multi-step process designed to maximize the beauty of every collection. There's a lot of variety when it comes to color, texture, and sheen. Nothing is stock. And our design team meets with specialty chemical companies to develop a unique blend of coating combinations each time we add a new group to our product line. They work to create stylish surface treatments which enhance the look and durability of the wood without interfering with its natural beauty. The attention to detail in the lengthy finishing process requires days, not hours, to complete, even with the most sophisticated equipment. Take the Bogart collection, for example. The premier finish you see here isn't the easiest or the most complicated process you'll find at Thomasville, but the recipe still has more than 20 steps and needs 48 hours to complete. It's just not the sort of thing you can duplicate at home.
The finishing process at Thomasville really is a variety of ranges according to what type of look you're after and according to what type of wood you're working on. There are a number of basic finishes, though, or basic steps that go in the finishing process. And what we will do is we will basically spray what we call stains. And there's a couple of different kind of stains. There's body stains and there's color stains. Some of the stains are used to make the lighter pieces in the wood a little darker so they match the rest of the case. Some of them are made to spray on the darker pieces to make them look a little lighter. So you're trying to get this consistent color with a variety of different colors of woods on it. So that's one thing you're doing with the stains. The other thing you're doing is you are trying to give the thing an overall color, whether it's dark or whether it's light, it's according to what type of stain you spray on it. The next process is that in doing all that, you have raised the grain in a lot of cases, and it needs to be sanded again. We will spray what we call sanding sealers. And these basically just sort of seal that stain in. Plus, they raise the grain up a little bit, and then you'll see a lot of people very lightly sanding back over the piece of furniture just to knock all that raised grain down and try to give you a very smooth piece. After that come what we call, the color tones. That'd be the glazes. And glazes are just very thick finishing material that can be moved around, and they're designed with a variety of different dry times, so you can either move them for a long time, push them into corners, and darken up your corners, or just wipe it off clean and get an enhancement in the grain. So you work with the glazes really to get a lot of body and a lot of depth in it. The next steps then starts to become top coats, and that's where you just take the nitrocellulose lacquer. It's usually clear. You spray a couple of coats, you sand in between coats again to get the smoothness. And once you get through all that, then of course you'll do your final top coats, which is what gives you the protective coating on top of the furniture. Again, sanded in between coats to give you a real smooth finish. But all that builds on top of each other, and it's all fairly transparent. That's why it's a lot different from the paint on your car. The paint on your car is one color. And it's very easy to maintain the consistency of that one color. But on a piece of furniture, it really is done by hand. It is all transparent, so you're always looking through all those finishing layers down to the wood. You're always trying your best to pull all that in together. But it's a very difficult process, and it takes a lot of people to do that in a finishing room and a lot of talent.
Part of the reason why it takes so much time and talent is that wood is organic. It's a natural living material where every species and tree are different, and consequently, every individual piece is also different. Everything has to be sanded and carefully inspected for consistency even before the pieces reach the finishing line, because the raw materials aren't artificial or standardized. And while that's a big part of the motivation for buying and owning wood furniture in the first place, there's a lot of variation in Mother Nature when it comes to color, tone, and wood grain.
Well, the reason that we have humans that's doing all the spraying and techniques, there's just no way to set up a robot or a machine to spray these cases and spray these beds. We do have machines that do the pumping of the stains and the guns that we have to adjust to the right level so the stain will flow out at the recommended speed and all that. But there's just no way of doing it other than having the human eye aspect of it. When you're working with a piece of wood, the characteristics change on a daily basis. From piece to piece, from tree to tree, everything's going to be different. You might get one piece of wood that's redder, one piece of wood that's yellow, maybe one piece of wood that's lighter. And we have processes when we first start to equalize them pieces of wood to it so we can get a good even finish on it at the same time. So when you look at a piece, you won't have lighter piece, darker piece. We want the whole piece to look the same.
That's why you see so many quality control checks before, during, and after the process. This may be the most demanding of all the procedures you'll find in a Thomasville plant. Finishing fine quality furniture is part chemistry, part craft, and part art. And due to the complexity of our finishes, we feel it would be difficult, if not impossible, to automate the process.
The thing that's really challenging about finishes is they are very labor intensive. We have yet to figure out how to take a piece of furniture and dip it in a tank and pull it out and have our finish on it. So the only way to do this is to spray multiple layers, and a lot of it, which is I think people would find very interesting, is a lot of these finishes are sprayed on and then they're wiped off. You know, because really all you're after is you just want the ticking or the pour of the grain to pick up that particular color. So you spray the whole case with a wiping glaze, and then there's only one way to get it off, and that is a lot of people around it, literally with rags, wiping all the excess off of that case and leaving just what they want to in the pour or in the corners and the hang up around the outside of the drawers. And yeah, it's difficult to do it consistently because it is done by people day in and day out, and they have to be trained. They have to know exactly what it's supposed to look like at their step, and so you know they have to be able to replicate that day in and day out on these collections. So yeah, there is a lot of talent to it, and there's a lot of people in the finishing room of a furniture plant. 70, 80 people is probably where the bulk of a lot of the people are, and you know it's not an easy job because it's a lot of it's sort of dirty work, but we have a lot of really great people who spend a lot of time doing it.
We believe the time and effort are more than worth it. The richness, depth, and clarity you'll find in Thomasville finishes provide a beautiful, distinctive look that will grace any home.